Yo, peace, and God bless to the followers, to those in virtual land. It is the Culture Podcast. Myself, Furious Styles, we got the Queen Luna, we got the OG Flex. We're going to do some great things. We have an excellent conversation with you tonight. All of us have dealt with some coping. So we're going to be talking about some coping strategies, some things that get us in that place, but then also some key definitive ways that'll put you on a positive note. So Flex, let's go ahead with that intro, brethren.
I'm writing this, try not to cry. You stabilize my environment, inspired when you have my eye. My youth was consumed by vain beauty. Little did I know that vanity could masquerade the unruly. Coolly high love times, we reminisce, paint a vivid picture. Rush to come and lift her. Brethren, I don't want to see another sister get left up, creep by another mister. Patience, no longer taking advantage of your innocence. Genetically superior, I had the vision this. Head ruled up my eye, I'm on my pilgrimage. History richer than the epic of Gilgamesh. We projected our broken worlds, made you a victim. Change the narrative, let us sit at your feet for wisdom. Pride, disrespect, I played my part. Now I apologize, cause deep down it hurt my heart. To the queens lost in the struggle.
Yo, it's been about a month, girl. It's been about a month, ain't it?
Listen, I have missed that song so much. Welcome back, family, into the Culture Podcast. Listen, we have not forgotten about y'all, but Furious Styles and myself, we had to engage in some coping strategies as it relates to just continuing to maintain a healthy marriage. And we renewed our vows, y'all.
Wow.
So we haven't been MIA for no reason. We was out in these streets, re-loving on ourselves. So as we sit here and we tell you guys about our story, we want to again invite you to push the share button. Make sure you share this with your mama, your daddy, your baby daddy, and all his crazy family too. It don't matter because we out on these streets trying to heal people. So, yo, Furious Styles.
What's up, girl?
What have we been up to, dude?
Oh my goodness, a little bit of everything. But first, I want to say shout out to the West Coast, Arizona. So for those that want to know, we went to Arizona and we went to go see the Grand Canyon. And what's unique about the Grand Canyon, Ms. Luna could tell you, even in person, it looks fake. It is that massive. It is that big. It's that deep. Like, as you're looking at it, it's like, I'm not really here. Like, this can't be real because it's like you can reach down this CGI. So sightseeing, we have definitely been up to, in that time frame, like I say, renewing the vows, but also being able to tap back in, able to withdraw, from the everyday hustle and bustle and kind of get back in tune. So that real talk, that's what we've been dealing with outside of just work, and I wouldn't even say dealing with, but that's what we have been experiencing. How about yourself, girl?
Man, I would say since our last podcast, it's been a lot of aha moments for myself. So when we was at the Arizona trip, we went to another city that was called Sedona. And in Sedona, there was this city or this chapel of the Holy Cross. So they gave a definition and explained it how it was this Catholic chapel built in a rock and it had a cross on the outside. That's all they told us. We was like, okay, bet. We got there. We was like, oh, this is pretty. But you walk inside and it was literally this humongous life-size replica of Jesus in all bronze hanging on the cross. And when you put your feet in this little footprints and you look up at him, he was staring directly at us. And in that moment, all I kept hearing was, he did it for me. So for me, I would say, as we're trying to transition into the topic of discussion today, which is coping strategies, because it's easy for me to come up here and give you guys statistics when it comes to mental health, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and talk to you about mental health and educate you. However, if you don't know how to cope in your day-to-day life, it's not going to matter what information I give you if I can't give you the task. So while I was there and I got the messaging of like, he did that for me, I realized that there was things that I was carrying that wasn't mine to carry. So like the blood was already ransom for that. But I promise I won't turn this into an actual preaching engagement. But what I really heard in that moment was let go some of the things that I'm beating myself up with, and I gave myself permission to live again. So in that moment, it's like if I give myself permission to live again, then I will believe that I have what I need to actually incorporate these coping strategies, to actually know that I am enough to sit down for a moment and meditate. I know that I'm enough to have a moment like Furious Styles. He'll message me and say, "Hey, babe, I'm gonna go record a song," and I'm like, "Okay, bet, go ahead, have your time." So in this time frame, we've been able to literally just tap back in and see like life is worth living, and we came back home to the same hustle and bustle. It didn't stop, but we had a moment to kind of take a step back from ourselves. So Coach G, or Furious Styles now, my question to you is, before I get into like what are healthy coping strategies, what are some coping strategies you feel that you already incorporate today?
One of the biggest, and I say biggest because we're not in a microwave society, but this particular strategy has shown itself of value in a much quick fashion. That's been my exercise, my kickboxing. Um, prior to kickboxing, I legit could sometimes feel the energy kind of within my body because I didn't work out. Like Luna could tell you, Coach, you did not work out. Like I was a coach, so when the seasons came around, I was out there getting it. But like actually a personal health routine, I did not have that. And it was getting to that point where I was literally just feeling the energy in my body. And once I started exercising, got into kickboxing, that has been such an outlet. One for self-discipline, the mental. I don't care nobody say. Once you get 30 and you trying to start remembering combinations, it really lets you know where your mind is. Real talk. You got 5 punching kicks at one time, but then just the physical durability of it as well is intense, is a lot. But I found that has been a great way to release energy, to kind of refocus my mind. So that has been, at least at the moment, one of the key ways that I've been able to implement these coping strategies.
I love that. What about you, Flex? What coping strategies you got going on with you?
Yeah, it's kind of on the line what Furious talked about, and we mentioned this a lot on just a number of topics on how proactive we need to be. Sometimes we always reacting to stuff, but if we're being healthy, exercising our mind, our physical, all the things right there, it puts us at a better advantage. So that's number one for me, is just trying to stay healthy, eat healthier, hang around positive people, and people that challenge your thinking, right? I think that's number one, because I'm telling you, what's that old saying? Everybody got a plan for Tyson until he hits you in your mouth. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible, but it's hard sometimes responding to stuff. And that's what coping is, really, is responding, but it's how you respond to stuff in a healthy manner, and not, just going off the deep end. So to answer your question in short, just trying to be better prepared for what life throws at you.
I actually
Lona,
appreciate that. Go ahead, Furious.
like I got a question, like it's in the same regards, but it kind of goes what leads up to it. Even for yourself in our trip, what's some things that led up to the acknowledgement, of needing the coping, of needing the time away? Because there's some people that probably have a list of coping strategies, but they never really give themselves the opportunity. They never admit that, hey, I need to implement some of this stuff, or I need to do some research. So, what would you say for that, for somebody that's just trying to get to the point of utilizing their coping skills?
So here's the thing: coping strategies should not be used as a reaction. So when we have coping strategies in our mind as that thing that we use to react to something in the present, then we're never going to use it. So when I'm working with people, I always tell them, like, your coping strategies should be a part of your lifestyle. It should be things that you engage in on a day-to-day basis. So then when life does happen, you're already used to doing it. So it's not like I'm trying to pull something that I don't have practice to use it. So for example, as outlandish as this sounds, If you have a license to carry, but you've never been to the gun range and it's time for you to use that gun, you ain't going to be as prepared as you think you are. Although you know you have it there, you're not going to be prepared to use it. So for me, I think preparing for our trip, the one thing that kind of let me know I needed to use my coping strategies is when I began to realize I wasn't using my coping strategies. I wasn't getting up to work out. I wasn't in my word. I wasn't in a space where I was talking to my friends on a daily basis. I started to isolate. Like I started to notice I wasn't doing it. And then it's like, oh, no, no, no. You got to get back on track. So that's what I would tell people. Like if you're thinking about coping strategies and how to incorporate it into your life, the real question is, what are some things that you can do lifestyle wise on a day-to-day basis, so when life is happening you'll have it? Like for example, I go to my therapist whether or not I'm in a good space or if I'm in a bad space, because now I'm in a good routine of every week, regardless of what's happening, I have someone that I'm talking to. You know, I listen to affirmation music whether I am happy or whether I'm sad, because when I am sad, the music, I've been listening to it with an open mind. So even if depressive thoughts is in my brain, I can still hear the words.
Yeah.
So it's being able to have things in each dimension of your life so that you can pull from it when life is happening. So before I get to like what those dimensions are, I want to make sure that that answered your question, Furious.
Oh, it does. Especially as you mentioned, you know, based in your routine, that's one of the biggest things is being able to have that consistency. But you're able to see in the break in the consistency that that's what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's big, you know, being able to identify, being able to see it. A lot of people won't, like say, they don't give themselves that permission, you know, to really be able to do it. So, you know, it's kind of dope to see how, you know, you're able to look and see within yourself, you know, that self-assessment and then able to move forward. That's big.
Yeah.
You know, that's definitely big within itself. So salute.
So I'm thinking about even if, because you're a little, well, not a little, you're a lot more advanced than most. You know, you put the work in, the higher education on it and all that, right? So my thing is, some people that are new to it or really don't understand the need for healthy coping strategies. What advice would you give them? And I say that because there are some people that look at tradition, culture, whatever. Like, this is how I am. If you mess with me, you cross me, you do me wrong, like I'm coming at you, right? And that doesn't mean that I should take everything that people do to me. But what advice, and this for both y'all, would y'all give people on how to even begin to take on that mindset that I need to change the way I think and how I operate?
So here's the sad part. People are not going to change until they hate how it makes them feel. So if that mentality is serving them, they're not going to be open to this conversation. It's going to be that person that's going to listen to this and then hop right off because it's going to make them feel uncomfortable. So I think it gets to a point where that person has to acknowledge that there is something that needs to be changed. So even if it's just starting with something small, like I haven't always been this put together, I promise you. And I love this question here. It says, awesome, what is your definition of coping? To me, coping means that thing that helps life go by a little bit better. So I look at it like an actual like life vest. It's my life vest that I have. I might know how to swim, but when you go into the rapids, they tell you whether you know how to swim or not to put that life vest on. So in the event you get thrown in the water, you will have something to make sure that you float. That's my definition of coping. It is your life vest, but you have to acknowledge that it's necessary and that is needed. And once you acknowledge that, then you'll be open to the little things. And it's not about changing it all overnight, but it's about pick that one thing. Like if you know that you always snap at your kids, then say, you know what, a coping strategy that I can do is I'm gonna wake up 5 minutes before I pick my kids up so I can just have 5 minutes to myself. I'm not touching none of the other areas, but I'm gonna pick something really small that every day that I can do. Or if I know that when I get home from work, I fuss my spouse out, then I'm gonna tell my spouse, look, for 5 minutes after work, Just give me 5 minutes to myself. I might even take the long way around just so I can get some time to myself and I can come to you. It's not even about doing things big and elaborate. It's just picking that one area. Like Furious Style said, for him, his one area is the physical health, right? He might not be doing nothing else in any other area, but to him, he know like this one area I'm gonna work on and I'm gonna perfect this. And then as I perfect this, then I can add more. Then I can add more and I can add more. So that's what I would say to that person. Just start somewhere, but you gotta hate how something makes you feel, or you're never gonna actually be open to someone telling you what things you can do to enhance your life and serve as that life vest.
Now we gotta put that on a t-shirt. You gotta hate the way that make you feel. I like that. That's good. Yeah.
What about you, Furious?
Man, I want to say, and it's funny how we again talked about those little things, those small things, because now that I'm thinking, prior to working out, if you recall back to last year, I would wake up at 6 because this is before school really went back, and I would go listen to Steve Harvey's Morning Thought. 15 minutes. Like that's all it was, but we're really 12. I would like say we'll take that 12 minutes, but that literally for at least 4 months changed the trajectory of my days just based on how I was able to start that. And at that time, like you say, being very depressed, the depression was coming from finding employment in certain areas. So in order to keep myself from being beat down, I would utilize a lot of those messages in the days preparing me for the test, certain things that needed to be in order. But it found that to be a very healthy coping style. Because based on what they were saying, wound up being, food for thought, food for wisdom, and I was able to use going forward to better the situation. So, kind of piggybacking off of what you said, something that helps you get through life, easier. But also, is that life vest something that's benefiting you, or is it kind of taking away from you long term? Because it's not really a life vest if it works for the time being, but it's almost like a virus, so to say, like it attaches to you, but now you find yourself giving more to it than it gives to you.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Man, well, we want to definitely take the time out to thank Portia Smith for sharing this tonight. We really, really appreciate you. We have some amazing people that's watching. We see Rhonda Butts out there live. Thank you so much. We also see Edward Austin is up here live today. So we just wanted to take the time out to say thank you to each of you. And as we're talking about coping strategies, we are open to any questions that you guys have so that we can make sure that this is something practical that you can take back to your life. We do not say that we know it all, but we are here to open up the door to our houses and really help our communities thrive. So we are going to transition a little bit, but I want to take this back to Furious and just say, what is one thing you feel like you've learned just in this little period of time for someone who might not be an expert in coping strategies, but incorporate it? What would you tell that person that is trying to start, that has realized that they hate how this makes them feel? How would you tell them they can get started?
Initially acknowledging that you're human. So like you say, having that moment where you realize it. No one goes through unscathed, no one goes through undamaged. And with that, you're going to have things that you pick up on, so again, in acknowledging that you do stand in need of it, it starts with your sphere of influence. It starts with your circle. What are you putting, into yourself? Are you someone that's into music? Similar to yourself, Lona, you on a point where you're listening to affirmation music. Is what decisions can you make with what you have? The inventory. Take inventory of what you got. And understanding all you need is all you have is all you need. So you can start where you are. But it kind of goes back to, do you see this is where I need to start and this is where I am? If I can at least start here, then move forward, that'll be my start to the right path. So again, it's understanding that you do have what you need when you finally come to that point. And then reach out. And that's been my hardest part personally, the reaching out. You can't do it solo. You can't.
Yeah.
So figure it out and reach out, and that's really where a great place to start.
Yeah. Yeah. And then speaking of reach out, we're going to transition to a commercial. We got a resource for y'all to reach out to for help with your coping skills. So
M Green Enterprises LLC, the home of Malira Green, your confidence coach. Malira Green is a licensed clinical social worker who serves as a psychotherapist, Reiki master, and transformative speaker. She is striving to provide the world with preventative services to lower the number of individuals in mental health facilities while helping people grow from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Malira is ready to help the humans of the world find their best selves. Please be sure to check out www.maliratransforms.com because Malira is ready to transform with you.
My girl, my girl, my girl. With your many hats, offering many services, whether that be coaching, whether that be speaking. The girl's an author. Yo, she in the music too. She ain't gonna tell y'all, but she's into the music world too.
I
I
heard
love
it.
you,
You
girl.
sound good too, man. Yeah.
Oh man. But not really, y'all. I do want to help people create heaven here on earth. Like literally, I remember when Miss USA jumped off the building, people were so surprised and shocked because she had just got everything that she set out to get. And people just could not understand why would she take her life. And it's because no matter what's going outside of you, no matter what's going externally from you, if inside you're living in a hell, you're going to stay there. And that's when those negative thoughts begin to come. So that is why M Green Enterprises is here to be that bridge between your caterpillar and your butterfly moment. When caterpillars go into that cocoon, it feels like death because there's so much pressure. But they know that that pressure is for a good reason. So I'm here to kind of help you be able to morph into that butterfly and fly freely. So, Furious, I'm going to give this thing to you. I want for you to be able to have an opportunity to just share with the people what your kind of idea and where you are when it comes to now incorporating coping strategies, and then also just inviting the people to be able to ask their questions live while we're up here as well.
Of course. So, in being able to indulge in that, one is almost like self care. So, these coping strategies, they are like self care. Mainly because you do face the stressors on a daily basis. Just basic stress, and you do yourself disservice when you try to deny your human feelings. So again, whether that be for myself, kickboxing, but then I also do music as well. I'm getting to the point of putting together events with other organizations. So it's also where you're putting your time into. Being a good time manager, understanding I only have 24 hours. Am I going to cope for 24 hours? Or do I have a way that I could honestly divide this up and utilize this time honestly or more wisely, I would say. And that's kind of where I've been for myself. My daily life, I'm a teacher, by day, and anybody can say that's a very stressful, job, occupation. So it does require, sometimes I get a lot of call and say, hey, I'm not going to take the interstate home. I'm going to go through Nasman Parkway, like, because it's a longer trip. So all of those things, but she also knows what I do when I'm on the road as well. It reminds me back to truck driving. That's where I'm really able to clear my mind and think. So myself being a thinker, it always kind of points back to that. And those moments of thinking, then I'm able to come up with some type of plan to move forward. So just as you said with Miss Universe, so I'm not staying in the same place.
Absolutely.
Because it's very easy. Like it is very easy, especially for somebody that has a hard time communicating. And that's why I love music, because it really helps me get my words out. So again, taking inventory and understanding where you are, what you may lack, and then in doing that, you're able to find the resources to compensate for that.
Absolutely. I want to make sure that we say hey to our sister Sequoia. We see you out there. If y'all ever see my face
Peace.
beat, y'all, Sequoia
Yes, you
is the
do.
one that do it. And then I also see a queen watching on YouTube, Mia Nicole, and she said, right, the pressure can be suffocating when you don't have a way to come up for air. Listen, queen, what I've been telling people is we live in a space where everybody's now open to the conversation of healing. That has come up a lot. We're trying to normalize therapy. I see my King Donovan up there. What's up, King? I'm glad you're up here. But we trying to normalize therapy. We talk about healing. You hear people talk about shadow work and all these things. But if you don't heal and live at the same time, you're basically living dead. So the analogy I like to give is, think about it. We've all done this before. And if you haven't lived long enough. You made the thought in your mind, I'm going to make spaghetti tonight. So you take out the meat, you sit it out. And for those of y'all who cook, don't
And
judge
get
my life,
blessed.
okay? I know that's not what you're supposed to do. But you leave it out on the counter. You're ready to cook that spaghetti. You go out. But this is a day that you don't finish till 8:30. So then if you like me, you like Taco Bell. So I'm going to stop at Taco Bell, get my little tacos. I'm going to eat it. And I'm going to forget that meat is sitting out there. I had all the intentions to make my spaghetti. I got all the ingredients out. But life happened, and I stopped and got fast food, and it was left out there. As the days progressed, I began to smell the meat that I left out. Now it's disgusted, it's molded, and I'm like, dang, what happened? What happened is life happened. I had all the intentions of making this spaghetti, but I did not actually live out the intention of healing. I didn't go and coach. I didn't go and get therapy. I didn't go and surround myself with the positive people. So now I am literally pulling this Band-Aid off of me, and I'm bleeding everywhere because I set the intention to do it, but I didn't take the steps to do it. So what does that look like? So I'm about to make y'all come into my classroom, okay? I love y'all. And coach, well, Furious Styles know this activity. So Flex, I want you to put your arms out in front of you, okay? It should be the same length. If it's not, I got some questions, but I won't ask. So put your right hand up in the air. Put your left hand behind you. And we're going to push forward. I'm going to see if you can follow direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put that hand out in front of you. It should be longer than the other. Now, what ends up happening, and I know both of y'all did this before, but we're doing it for the audience. What ends up happening is we focus on one area to heal. So, I want to heal the physical because I'm too big. My clothes ain't fitting the same way. So now I'm going to throw all my energy there and everything else is dying. I need to get my relationship with God together so much. So I'm just going to be God, 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 God. And then all the other areas is dying. Or I need to provide for my family. So I'm going to work. I'm going to have this business. I'm going to have this career. I'm going to do all these things. But then all the other areas are dying. So yet I am healing one area, but I'm not living. So, because the audience may have did it and we don't have insurance and the Floor is Yours podcast don't want to be sued, let's do the other side real quick. And Donovan, I'm not talking to you. So, push forward 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now put your hands out in front of you. You should be back balanced. So for those of you who actually did it at home, that is what it takes to really, really heal. Like I said, a coping strategy is not that thing that you just do when life happens. If that's your plan, you're going to fail every time. But if you do it as that thing that you know, for example, I don't know that if we hear about a bunch of plane crashes all the time, but every time you get on that plane, you hear the same message. When we endure turbulence, your oxygen mask is going to come down, put it on you first. Like, you're always going to have some type of preparation. So here's my question. How are you preparing for your day every day? How are you preparing for your moments every time you go into a space? Are you taking time out to take off all your hats? Like I used to tell people all the time, stop being hat lady. When I wake up, I can't put on Malara hat. Then I can't put on exercise hat. Then I can't put on mom hat. Then worker hat. I got to take time to take one hat off to make room for the next one. So when we're talking about these coping strategies and mental health month and all of these are just fancy words, y'all. What it really died down to is, what are you actually giving attention to? What is important to you? And if something is that important to you, you will make the changes necessary. Or you will be honest with yourself. Like, I literally just had to reach out to my personal trainer today and say, listen, I got to put us on pause because right now I don't have the capacity to actually do what it is that I need to do to meet the mark that we agreed on. I am not ending this forever. I'm just pausing it right now because I had to be in tune with what it was doing with my mental health. When your coping strategy becomes more of a chore, it is no longer a coping strategy. And you got to be okay with saying, I need to pause this and take inventory and say that right now, this is not necessarily working for me in this season, and be okay with having to find something different. So for me now, my something different is I want to go back to my childlike self. So I want to dance. So we bought Just Dance. So every day I'm going to dance, even if it's just for 5 minutes, but find something that you can do that does not feel as if it's overwhelming. So Flex, I got this question for you, King. I know you've been engaging in some coping strategies and self-care and all that great jazz, but what is something that you tried that worked for some time and then it stopped? And what did you do when it stopped working?
There we go. My bad. I was on mute. Yeah, it's a good question. I got a number of things, but one is since I've been out the military and I'm not as active, right? And I tried to do a shortcut to the whole health thing. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna eat what I want and just go out and ride the bike. Well, that bike it just didn't cut it. So I had to figure out another way, be realistic. And I like the fact that you were talking about what you had the capacity to do. So I had to figure out how to be deliberate in my approach, but be also realistic. Like, what do I have time to do? So I had to go with that old thing where they say you can't outtrain a bad diet. I had to go back to eating better. And it's working. It's working now. Just I'm 8 pounds down in about 3 weeks. So the intermittent fasting thing is working for me. And that's just more about portion control, watching what I eat and when I eat, and not just turning up the burgers and the wings. And that Blondie dessert up at Applebee's, a shameless plug right there. That thing.
Listen, we be eating them brookies from 7-Eleven. So
7-Eleven.
if anybody want to tell 7-Eleven to sponsor us, I will eat more brookies just for that. But I'm glad you shared that though, Flex, because at the end of the day, sometimes people begin to feel bad when they have to change their strategy.
Yeah.
That's why we call it coping strategies. You got to change it. There's going to be a time when you a kid, you have the kid size life vest. When you become an adult, you have an adult size life vest. And in each phase, each person has a different size. So you got to be okay to say, hey, this one doesn't fit me anymore. I'm going to go get another one. Or This one became too big. I'm going to go and get another one. So I'm so glad that Mia just put this because this goes into the transition of what we're going to be talking about next. So we want to give you guys some tangible coping strategies for us to utilize together. So Mia says here, I'm learning to set healthy boundaries, which means blocking out the extra noise and people. So looking at the people, a good coping strategy for you to utilize is to lean on your loved ones and identify the friends and family members that are there for support. I like to say that we are all like cell phones, right? I cannot get an Android charger to charge my iPhone. I can't do that. It's not going to fit, and vice versa. Someone can't use my iPhone charger to charge their Android. But there's going to be a point in time where my iPhone, it may start at 100% and I can do this thing on my own, but it's going to eventually get to 20%. And I'm going to get a message that says battery save mode or cancel. And then if you ignore it, when it get to 10%, it's going to say the same thing. But we end up copying out and saying, well, God can do it. But God is more like the power strip in the wall. You can't just put your phone up to the wall and say, charge this, God. You got to literally plug it into a cord. Right. So your family, your support, your friends, your loved ones are honestly those individuals that are going to charge you back up. So you need to understand, I need some keto wings myself. But you need to understand, who are you allowing in your circle to charge you up? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you can't have an Android charger in your circle. It just means they're not the one to connect with you when life is happening. They need to be further away because they still have a purpose. They still can charge other people up, just not you. And that's where those boundaries come in at. So a great coping strategy, again, is having your support and your family around you. So Furious Styles, how have you seen family support as something that's important?
You would be surprised. Well, you probably wouldn't, but you would be surprised to find out most of the people in your family are going through the exact same thing that you're dealing with. Sometimes it could be at the same time. Sometimes it's generational. You know, you find yourself with your parents or you know, those that have gone before you, and it's like, man, you've experienced the exact same thing I'm going through, you know, at this very moment. And that shared experience sometimes is the open door, you know, to making that connection. Kind of goes back to being human. Some people like don't really realize that other people can feel the way that they feel. And I think that is a huge thing when leaning on loved ones, is realizing that at times they may have felt the exact same way, or they're probably feeling the same way. And the fact, if y'all two could share that, like I said, that may just open up those floodgates to be able to let that out finally. And then that should be your village. You know, that should be at least the closest parts of your village. So being able to trust that. But setting boundaries is kind of an opposite side as well. Understanding that not everybody can help in that. And then knowing that going to certain people is probably going to put you in a negative mindset. So being able to have that, you know, self-awareness and self-love, really, to not put yourself in those situations. Some of us are so, I guess, trauma bonded to some situations that although it does put us in a negative mindset every time, we find ourselves continuously going back.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, seeing it and being able to set those boundaries and like, I don't like how this situation makes me feel. And I'm okay with finally admitting that.
Yeah.
That's a big part.
Yeah. And then just before we move on to the next, I like what Sharon said. She kind of alluded to what you said, Fury. She said, make sure they have the capacity to assist you as well, because there's a lot of people that want to help, that feel like, hey, especially in men, right? We fix it. We, you know, give us a problem, we're gonna, in our mind, we got this thing figured out, you know. And a lot of times, man, you can do damage if that person don't have the capacity, meaning the skill set, and what else besides the skills at the time. Because sometimes it takes time, right? You can't fix things overnight. I might know what needs to happen in a certain sense, but you know, being able to be patient with that person and work through whatever that challenge is. So just want to point out, Sharon, thanks for Sharon, I'm sorry for that comment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, moving to this next one, it says face your feelings. It's normal to want to avoid thinking about a traumatic event. I tell people all the time, and I'm actually going to talk about this in Vegas, is embracing whatever it is that you're challenged with. So if it's an emotion, right? Your emotions, I read that if we didn't have emotions, that we would die. Our emotions are like road signs and warning signs to help guide us through, and it's telling you something is good or bad. So embrace whatever that emotion is. If it's something that's making me upset or angry, embrace it, understand it so you can deal with it. And that's, what Ferris, you talked about it earlier first, is acknowledging it. After you acknowledge it, you do need to embrace whatever that emotion is. We talked about how men walk around trying to be macho, like nothing hurts me. And sometimes we're suppressing these emotions that are trying to tell us, like, hey, something is wrong. And instead of just toughening up and trying to suppress it and act like it's not happening, it's doing more damage to us. So that's my thought on that.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, like, you got to get in bed with your story to conceive your purpose.
Yeah.
You're not going to fulfill your purpose if you continue to run away from your story. You got to be able to acknowledge that. And that's both men and women. And I know on our platform, we have talked a lot about how Black women can support Black men and how Black men can support Black women. And I think we need to have more conversations like that,
Yeah.
because here's the thing, it's called the elephant syndrome. You may forget that feeling, but when you're growing up, if you feel anything other than happy, your parents say, "Oh, what you crying about? I'll give you something to cry about. Why are you throwing that temper tantrum? Get up off that floor." Or
Right.
if you are, whatever, they'll hold you up as if something's wrong. So you learn, if I'm not happy, everything else I need to ignore. So as we are ignoring it, then we end up feeding the elephant in our closet. And that elephant, not just the size, but the elephant has the world's best memory from the day it is birthed to the day it dies. It remembers every second of their life, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
every time I feed this elephant my emotion, oh, I don't want to deal with this emotion, I'm just going to come up and have this mask and keep going and be resilient. Eventually, that elephant gets really full and push you out of your room. And that's when people have those mental health issues. So we have to learn how to have safe spaces to share our emotions, whether it's traditional therapy or coaching, or whether it is having a podcast or writing a book or doing something or writing music like Furious Styles does and producing it. And I know Flex dabbles in that as well. So being able to find that thing that you can get your feelings and emotions out so you won't keep feeding an elephant, because eventually you're gonna have to deal with your stuff, because when ish stinks, it starts to stink and you gotta deal with it. So
Yeah, that's
that's what I
good.
got with it.
Man. Luna, I definitely gotta say, you definitely speak volumes. Getting in bed with your story, as Flex mentioned, even on the piggyback. And one of the things, it's normal to want to avoid thinking about traumatic events. I think another crazy thing is when you don't realize the situation that you were in was traumatic, or at least you don't
Mm.
recognize it to be that way until a certain point, and it's like, man, this whole thing has kind of shaped the way I view it. And this whole time, I didn't even really see it as an issue. You know, um, like even single parent households and whatnot, like the effect that that's had, and then kind of growing up and being in the situation that I am now, and then kind of seeing that even with my students, and it's like, man, this is really kind of leaving an effect on the people, on our people, and kind of seeing how we're all dealing with that, being able to move past the coping strategies, young men and kind of what they face on a daily basis, even the young women, but it's like they are crying out, and a lot of them don't realize, where the issue stemming from. So it's like they could go almost a lifetime not realizing or where to look,
Yeah,
just based on that, thought in their mind. So
that's good, man. Good stuff.
Absolutely. So we are going to jump into that really last meat and potato particular or practical way of engaging in a coping strategy. But we just want to make sure that we just encourage you guys to share this. There's been many of you guys that have said that we've shared some important things tonight. So make sure you share this video on all of your platforms and your groups on Facebook. We're also on YouTube as well. And make sure you subscribe. We do this every other Wednesday for the Culture Podcast, but the Floor is Yours podcast LLC has many amazing podcast shows, and we actually just did a collaboration with Mongo Global TV, and we are so ecstatic about that, and you're going to be able to find us there more. So please make sure you share this. And it goes to this last point. You have to be able to be patient to give yourself permission to engage in self-care. You may have a visual of where you're going, where you're trying to go, your goals, your dreams. You got a goal size, you got a goal job, you got a goal behavior that you want your kids to reach. But you have to be patient for you to be able to get there. And while you're patiently waiting to get to that said goal, you got to engage in self-care. Self-care is not selfish. It is your daily CPR to continue to live your life. If you are not pouring from a full cup, we're not even talking about don't pour from an empty cup. No. If you're not pouring from a full cup, then you're pouring too much already. So when you are engaging in those self-care practices, it's what look tangible to you. And self-care does not mean go spend money. People have this notion that the only way I can get engaged in self-care is if I'm getting my hair done, my nails done, my toes done, getting a massage, I'm going to get some food, something to eat. Self-care can literally be, before I start my day, I'm going to sit outside and just listen to the birds sing. Before I actually go into my office, I'm going to take time to sit out in my car for 5 minutes to gather my thoughts. Self-care could look like, you know what, today I'm going to put aside anything I have to do and I'm just going to binge watch TV. And self-care is also sometimes telling people no. And that is something that I have to learn. Somebody told me recently, Malira, you can be saying all the yes in the world, but if your pockets is empty, then baby girl, you need to figure out why you saying yes. Because a lot of the times we don't want to say no because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. But at the end of the day, if you're left drained, then how are you going to have the energy to fulfill that purpose that you're working so hard to fulfill? You're not going to have to. So again, patience is directly correlated to self-care because you have to patiently wait for you to get to the point of life where you're trying to go. So as we are about to go and like transition really quickly, because I want to make sure that you guys get some loving with your soul. Another great self-care thing is music. Music is healing to the soul. And we believe here on the Floor is Yours podcast and also the Culture podcast is that all words are spells. So we are very big on the people that we choose to be on this platform to speak to you guys, the music that we choose as intro, outro music, because we want to make sure that we heal you with everything that we do. So we're about to transition briefly into a song of the night. But while we do that, we ask that we make sure that if you guys have any questions before we close out, that we address those questions. But until then, please prepare your ears to hear an amazing song by the Furious Styles.
Without the honor, Baba, here's the life of the real Rasta Master. No fame to proclaim the real Rasta Master. Don't find yourself to follow, cause I be doing this with or without the honor. Baba, who was the nappy one to put you on? The first to stimulate you when your mental wasn't calm. The Rasta, who's the master?
Oh man, Furious Styles, tell the people how you use music as a coping strategy and what does it do to you when you hear it?
Deal. Well, I would like to start that particular track, the Rasta Master. Believe it or not, that track is about life force energy. You know, it's about us as men being able to make better use of that which we produce. So I say all of that because the music, I make sure my words are something that you could always live by, whether it's this generation, the following generations. I want it to age well with time. And the greatest way for something to age well with time is to just be honest on it.
Yeah.
Definitely be real, and that's what I've been able to do. As you say, our words are spells, and that's something that I've really been able to communicate and make use of. Being able to speak life, being able to speak positivity, encouragement. That particular song is on my upcoming LP release. May the 30th is when my new album comes out. Furious Styles, the Rasta Monster LP. It's available on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, you name it, it is there. May the 30th. So definitely check it out. 14 tracks, and it's gonna wreck your mind. Like if you're someone that likes to think, that which goes into it is really gonna make you think. It's gonna challenge you. So that's how I've been able, to utilize and even just developing and building coping skills. Because I'm a thinker, and I always want to challenge people to think to their high selves.
Man, you got a wife for somebody, because you kind of cool over there.
Yeah, she's sitting in front of a floral screen right now.
Right on.
Man. Well, yes, y'all make sure you guys prepare to get his upcoming LP. And what I will tell you is something about Furious music is you got to listen to it multiple times because it literally ministers to your soul. It's not one of those things like some of them you can bop to, that's cool, but you're not just going to be able to listen to it and then throw it away. Like it's going to be like, wait, did he just say that? Did he just say that? And that's what you want when you're listening to music across the board. Something that's going to minister to your soul and your heart and really transform you. Because when you go out in the world, you're going to do what you hear and what you see. So, Furious, do you have anything else coming up that the people can support you with outside of your LP?
This weekend, Building Bosses, Norfolk, Virginia. I'm actually serving on a panel, being able to kind of talk about life after high school, like life after school. What type of plans are you able to put together? Those that know me know I have a very unique story. Nothing about my story is normal. So, with that being said, I get the opportunity to kind of share my journey, some of the endeavors that I've been involved in. And I know anybody watching in my shoes can relate to this. The school year is almost over. So with the school year being almost over, that's definitely going to allow me a lot of time to get back to the community, business wise, able to network. G Rolling Papers is still flourishing, is growing. So reach out. So just a lot of different things, business wise and music wise, you name it, I'm on it.
Hey, so can we get you to throw the stuff on the podcast page so that people know how to reach out to you, man?
Indeed, we'll do. We'll do.
Cool.
Yes, market yourself. Because listen, if you are someone who utilize whatever herb of choice, so whether that is a herbal blend or whatever herb of choice here, it is a non-carcinogen. So it's one of those things where all of it is natural, and whatever you put in your body, you can actually be strategic with it. Yes, I am his marketing person. Now,
Right on.
so so the building bosses, I will also be there as well. It is through Vision Driven 757, a local nonprofit that is headed by the Lindsay Anderson. And I will be there on the mental health panel. And what this whole event is for is to show young people that they can create their own paradise here on earth, whether that is through entrepreneurship, whether that is through going and seeking a career. We're going to also have kidpreneurs there as vendors, and we're going to have our own Nikki Styles. He's going to be up there, a young entrepreneur as the host. And it's going to be a plethora of us. And again, that's in the Hampton Roads area in Norfolk, Virginia. And it's going to start at 10 o'clock a.m. Our target population is kids ages 21 years old and under. We want to start at age 12. And we are really trying to change the community. I have a few things that's coming up. I have the Curves, Curls, and Crowns on Mongo TV Network. that has already premiered. It premieres every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We are already on episode 2. And it's going very, very well. And again, I am still doing my coaching program for people to become unstuck and motivated to confidently reach their goals while owning their gifts. So if this really spoke to you tonight and you're like, I don't know where to start when it comes to my coping strategies, I'm here to help you create your own personalized life vest. So when you wake up every day, no matter how much turmoil you may have, you can continue to live and float through life with least resistance. So that is what I got going on and coming up. And I just want to say thank you to every person who has supported me on my journey of now full-time entrepreneurship. Flex, what do you got going on, King? I know it's something big festering over there.
Oh yeah, I got a number of things. I'll share my screen one more time. But so here coming up in November, and if you follow me on Facebook, you see it. But we got the Men's Wellness Conference, and it is sponsored by the city of Las Vegas. Um, it's the covers around 3 days in June, June the 9th, 10th, and 11th. 9th, 10th, and 11th, just that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll expand this a little bit. And the topics we're going to be talking about is from this idea called the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we talk about physical wellness, emotional wellness. Emotional is what I'll be talking about. Social wellness, intellectual wellness, financial wellness, spiritual wellness, environmental wellness, and occupational wellness. It's a bunch of black men up here just passionate about serving the community, and they're graciously giving their time to give out great information and good practical exercises on how to grow in these aspects, in all aspects of wellness, so that we can all be better rounded individuals. So that Friday night is going to be a family event where we'll meet the some local politicians. We'll meet all the speakers, the organizer, Natasha Simone. I think Luna, you connect with her. She's amazing. She has her own mental health practice there in Vegas, but she's the organizer. But we all be there to meet Friday night. Saturday is going to be for the men only. But at the same time, if there are women that are accompanying their men there, uh, Natasha is trying to organize something for the women to get away at the same time. And the idea behind that is that we don't want men to come and get this great training and go back to the same environment. So just trying to get them something for their female mate counterparts to help them grow so they can encourage each other in their growth. And then at Sunday, we have an event out in the community. Can't remember the guy's name, but he has this mental health bus. So it's this bus that he outfitted to be a mobile mental health unit. And he goes into the community, and this helps those who can't get to doctors, don't have the resources, insurance, or whatnot to get to the medical professionals. He actually go into the communities and provide that mental health for them. So it's going to be a lot going on. Again, follow me on the my personal page, Gerard Ware, or the podcast page, and you'll see all the information there for that.
Awesome.
Busy,
Awesome.
busy, busy.
So we are us to some great things, and we did it, y'all. We made it before an hour. We're trying to
Yes.
cut the time back a little bit,
Yeah.
but no, seriously though, this today, one, we wanted to make sure that we just didn't do mental health awareness, regular information for mental health and things like that. Like, no, we wanted to give you guys some tangible and practical things that you can implement in your day to day. So as life happens, it doesn't happen to you and then it takes you out, or it doesn't happen to you and you end up hurting or harming someone else as a result of not having the right life vest on as life is going. So before we close this out, anything that you are taking away from today, guys, I really want to hear what's your takeaway from tonight's show.
I want to say coping is normal.
Hmm.
Coping is indeed normal. You are not a bad person for coping. It is indeed once you do realize that, you're then able to say, okay, well, what can I do to bring that balance, to my life? So I'm not just spending all this time trying to get better, but then there's no implementation. It's like understanding there's a whole system.
Yeah.
Those that study Egypt or Kemet, we call it ma'at, is balance.
Mhm.
So being able to get the healing, but then the application and marry them both together. So that's been my key point is being able to get the information, but then move forward and actually make use of it, not just keep it up here.
I love that. What about you, Flex?
Uh, just again, life is intentional. It should be intentional. Your growth, your healing, your progression, your relationships, whatever that you're doing, it should be intentional as possible. And I say that because if not, man, life happens. You're on the planet with 8 billion other people with their own interests and their own fears and their own traumas and all that. And I think once you're in tune and understand who you are better, it allows you to be able to be an asset to other people. One of the worst things to get is you get two broken people or two people who aren't whole desperately want a relationship and they get in there and they tried it. And the analogy you used earlier, Luna, about people bleeding, they're literally bleeding on themselves and there's internal bleeding and it's just really a slow, painful death. So be intentional about your growth, be intentional about your progression, about loving each other, about being co what's the word I'm looking for? Occupants of this planet. Again, it's 8 billion people. It cannot be about us only. You got to make sure you're good so that again you're just being a good player in this planet.
Awesome. And I would like to end you guys with we all have room for growth. Even
Amen.
with me sharing with you guys, like I said, just today, I had to sit down and reevaluate. Like, yes, that worked in this moment, but is it working right now? And if it's not working right now, I have to give myself permission to find a different strategy to incorporate every day where I don't feel like I'm putting too much pressure on myself. So I like to use this. This is my last visual to give you. When we are living our life, it's like we're living with a buffet. But when you go to a buffet, it don't change the fact that you know all the choices or all the things that you can do, but your plate can only fit a certain amount. So it's up to you to pick what's important right now to take on this plate. It don't take away the fact that you can go back and get more. It just means right now focusing on the right things to have so that you can focus on the right things so that you don't have to incorporate your coping strategies because you're pushed to cope. But you get to actually incorporate your coping strategies because you're just living life and it's just a day-to-day turbulence. So this has been an excellent show. We're going to go ahead and conclude this thing, but we just appreciate each of you watching this evening.
Oh yes, yes. So again, thank y'all for giving us your time. We want you to like, share, subscribe, you name it, reach out, contact us all. We networkers, we all master networkers, so we love to build and connect. And we just want to say we love you. Y'all could be anywhere else, but you chose to spend this 45, 50 minutes with us, and we want to say peace to you for that and gratitude. So thank y'all for tuning in. It's been a blessing. My man's Flex Kills for that outro, sir.
I'm writing this, try not to cry. You stabilize my environment, inspired when you have my eye. My youth was consumed by vain beauty. Little did I know that vanity could masquerade the unruly. Coolly high love times, we reminisce, paint a vivid picture. Rush to come and lift her. Brethren, I don't want to see another sister get left up, creep by another mister. Patience, no longer taking advantage of your innocence. Genetically superior, I had the vision this. Head ruled up my eye, I'm on my pilgrimage. History richer than the epic of Gilgamesh. We projected our broken worlds, made you a victim. Change the narrative, let us sit at your feet for wisdom. Pride, disrespect, I played my part. Now I apologize, cause deep down it hurt my heart. To the queens lost in the struggle.
Yes, yes. Light and love. It's been real tonight. We're back. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. And remember, like, share, subscribe, and make sure you check out the Floor is Yours podcast because the Culture podcast is not the only one that is nourishing your soul. So thank y'all. Peace. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.